Mate, thank you for having me. Good morning, everybody. As Tim said, my name's Adrian Float, and for my sins, I am the MD of Cirralto. If you could change slides for me. In a nutshell, we help our customers to get paid what they're owed on time. And I suppose what many people are probably well aware of, that more than half of the time people get paid late. And getting paid late causes all sorts of issues within an operating structure. And I suppose what we've done is created a collaborative platform that really stands us apart from others, where we can solve what is a $100 billion plus problem in the Australian market by allowing buyers and sellers to collaborate and connect their general ledgers. So our key special sauce is we're bundling the e-invoice and the e-payment, so that really, when we look at the overall payments lifecycle, the bit that gets done by the banks, just that last 5%, we're playing right across from how a transaction gets formed, to how a transaction gets processed, to how the transaction gets receipted at bank, right the way through to reconciliation. And we're doing that end to end. If you could change for me. 2020 has definitely been a standout year for us. As Tim mentioned, it's been a fairly lazy return. And I suppose the reality for us is that COVID has pushed businesses to think digital. And for an organization like us, that's been wonderful, because we're all about looking at problems objectively and saying, hey, you know what? Do we need to live in the status quo? And could we do this better? And I suppose, as has been our performance really since our launch in March, and then subsequent launch in June of our spender products, we've seen double-digit growth in customers. So last month was about 42%. We've seen our payments ecosystem grow, and thanks to our capital raising partners with Kai and CPS, we've been able to set ourselves in a very strong financial position to tackle 2021 head on. If you could change. So a little bit about us. You can obviously see where we started to grow, and I suppose we started the year right at the bottom of what we saw as being our payments peers, and we're coming to end the year somewhere around the bottom of that mid-tier section. So we're pretty happy with what we've been able to achieve, but 2021 is what it's all about for us. As some of you might be aware, we have recently announced an agreement with Fiserv and Visa. That's a transformative piece for us. It drives our margins, it changes our cost of sale, but more importantly, allows us to pivot our business model. If you could change for me. Thank you. So looking at our organization today, we've got a very large customer base. And I suppose, being a software business, transitioning and bundling together financial services with software, we've got this large incumbent customer base that we really want to transform into payments. So the great thing about that is we're not having to go hunting per se, but our technology is very horizontal. So looking at the markets where we can play, yes, our addressable market's growing. Yes, we've processed $2.2 billion of transactions via our software ecosystem. Our objective is to take that 2.2 billion and grow it, and then convert it to merchant fee income. So under that BPSP play, our margin uplifts about 40%. Now, looking at that practically, ultimately, and in simple terms, that makes a small $2 million business worth somewhere about $1,000 a year to us. Now, sorry, $1,000 a month to us. I apologize. Now, at those kinds of numbers, there's obviously lots of businesses. We could very happily just work in the sort of 2K circle around us and make a very nice business for ourselves. However, our focus is to, first of all, dominate the Australian landscape. We're very comfortable with our unique point of difference in the B2B landscape. But moreover, we've got some acquisitions planned in the new year that round out our IP, give us access to a new customer base, but also allow us to increase our margins even further than we have in the past. If you could change for me. And again, yeah. So this BPSP agreement, well, we're in rare air here, and it's been a 7-odd month process to jump through the various hoops to be where we are today. And obviously that's a significant achievement for us as an organization. We have alluded to our work with the card schemes over the last probably 4 or 5 months. Bringing that to fruition now is all about us being able to own the cardholder better and understand the cash flow needs of our customers and look at how we can blend those two things together so that ultimately everyone's getting what they're paid, what they're owed, and we have a great opportunity to really drive down the cost of funds within an organization and really improve their liquidity and working capital access. Next, please. In terms of business model enhancements, as I'm sure most of you know, businesses tend to operate in a terms of trade framework. So they don't, and COD is the exception. So by terms of trade, I mean, you owe me this invoice in 30 days time. For us, these new BPSP arrangements really allow us to look at pivoting pay by installment opportunities and looking at how we can use both open banking and our new merchant capabilities under the BPSP to utilize collection processes more effectively so that we can provide buy now, pay later services, if you like, into the B2B landscape. That really rounds out our play. If you look at our retail offering, we have both FPOS, virtual terminal, e-commerce, and accounts receivable payment services, which really means we can go after the traditional bill presentment platforms. And we believe that those markets in that retail space will open up significantly in the new year. Equally, we then can pivot backwards and look at how retailers actually pay their distributors and or manufacturers. Now, those business model changes mean for us that our lick of the lolly, if you like, in terms of the overall payments ecosystem is far more substantial than what traditional payments vendors have been able to obtain. Next, please. So looking at the overall payments market, you've kind of got two principal ways in which businesses pay one another. So the first one is that bill payment platform. So your sort of BPay approach. And BPay is fantastic for improving the reconciliation and identification of for a supplier where they've got many, many merchants. However, they add no value to the customer or the person making the payment. In fact, if anything, they're slow, cumbersome, and ultimately really that quite an inefficient sort of traditional thinking approach to how we want to get paid. But if you flip that around the other way and you look at it from the buyer's perspective, when we use ABA files via our internet banking, that's great for me as a customer making the payment, but not so good for my supplier. And ultimately what that means is that the supplier's got increased reconciliation time to recognize the payments that I've made. Now, when we look at that practically, we're bringing the best bits of both those capabilities into a collaborative platform so that if I make a payment, it's reconciled in my financials at the same time when I make the transaction. But equally, we're delivering a electronic remittance that can be applied to the supplier's financials so that their ledger is also up to date and reconciled in the same way that BPay does. So that midpoint for us, we see lots of scale in that space and lots of opportunity for us to continue to really drive down that late payment issue that's just pervasive in the Australian economy and even more pervasive in the US. If you look at some MasterCard research, they're suggesting that 80% of invoices are paid late in the US marketplace. Next. So with that most recent announcement, we're really looking at, we've got sort of 4 strings to our bow. We've got that, I'll call it direct payment, where we've got a number of technologies that can support a customer paying a supplier. But our key differentiator there is we support statement-based payments. So a customer can actually, if you like, pay a manifest of invoices to a supplier. And when we post those payment events to the supplier's bank itself, they actually see them as individual itemized payments. So that's a big change in terms of merchant payments. And that's a huge opportunity for us. We've also got our intent to pay framework, which really supports supplier funded payment arrangements. And I'm guessing I'm going to get the wind up, so I will accelerate. Right now, the funding scenarios that exist in terms of partnerships, we've made announcements last year about our working in the credit space. We've now got to a level where that is accelerating, and we believe there's fantastic opportunities to open up, if you like, extended credit to buyers as well as instant payment to suppliers, and using our payments technology to really manage the instantaneous settlement and collection of debt payment. I think I'll maybe skip this one because we're going to run out of time, and this one. They're good slides though. I suppose really where we sit in terms of benefits is by delivering collaboration. We're breaking down traditional barriers that exist between buyers and sellers. And when you break down barriers, you remove credit impeding the sales relationship, and you allow the business relationship to be far more effective. So there's better cash flow from the buyer's perspective, there's better cash flow from the supplier's perspective, and ultimately the sales machine is more effective. With the reconciliation piece, we're obviously saving time, and we've had a really good response from the Institute of Credit Management and the accounting fraternity as far as supporting our payments passport as a methodology to improve overall credit management within business. I think and really we're flowing that through to both buyer and supplier. From a supplier's benefit, look out for where we're going with workflow payments. It's a real game changer. Ultimately, what that's all about is utilizing the card itself as a security mechanism to guarantee performance by the buyer. So if you think like Uber, that's what they're doing in their closed economy, where we all know that our credit card is telling the driver that Adrian's going to pay for his ride when he gets out, but the charge doesn't happen until the service is rendered. We're bringing that same logic, but much more pervasively into the ecosystem, so that we can license technology to the software industry that allows them to take that approach. That means true COD, it means a change in the way e-commerce is done, and a much better methodology for how we can actually expose service providers, for argument's sake, to the payment cycle, so they've got less risk in their collections. Next. Ultimately, how we make money, software as a service, we charge subscription fees, but moreover, we make a percentage of the turnover through our network, hence why we've focused on growing our merchant turnover numbers and reporting on those consistently through the 2020 year. And as you can see, because we can move through the entire payments value chain, we're able to turn the original purchase of a cup of coffee from a consumer into a much bigger transaction flow by connecting all the players together. Next. And again, so I suppose our opportunity is to continue to bundle. We're competing against the traditional financial or payments players by offering our customers a better or lower total cost of ownership of their business stack. So we're using the software itself as a vending machine for the payments transaction. And by doing that, we're able to more effectively compete against our software competitors, because they are not deriving that income, if you like, or that clip of the ticket out of the payments process itself. So they've got to hold up their software revenue and hold up their software costs. So that bundling approach and our approach to go free with payments has been very effective for us in acquiring new customers. Next. The suite's pretty broad. There's no way I can explain it all in 10 minutes, but suffice to say, we're providing enough tools for businesses all the way through the value chain to run their operations upon, and then connecting them to the payment ecosystem. So we're all about helping our businesses to form more effective transactions that ultimately result in a payment and settlement. I think that's me. Over to the questions.
Adrian. Great presentation, a lot in there. I'm actually astounded, being a business owner, chasing invoices with ASX listed companies and financial institutions. So it is an enormous market for big and small businesses. So how does it practically work for a business like ourselves?
Well, I mean, basically in a nutshell, we've got I guess a 3-layered implementation process. So the first layer is all about compliance and knowing who you are. Once we've got through that step, which is not onerous now, thanks to our new agreement, we then move into really connecting your financial system into the ecosystem and then inviting your customers to play. Once your customers are in, we effectively create a secure link between your accounts receivable and their accounts payable, and then allow that payment event to flow. So you can use that for single invoices, statements, payment arrangements. There's a plethora of scenarios that we're supporting, as well as I said before, we're moving into that buy now, pay later or installment payment framework where, hey, you know what, you might want the money now, and we'll provide mechanisms for you to access credit in real time. And that's a big difference. So one AML KYC suite, many applications right through the payments ecosystem.
Yeah, it's clever. It's clever, Adrian. We've got lots of questions, so I might follow up with you during the week with an article, but lots of questions about offshores. Can we just kind of have a quick Q&A on that? What's your plans
about offshore?
There? Yeah, about your international plans, given your, your relationship
good question
with your MasterCard and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose in a nutshell, little companies don't normally get the Guernsey that we've got. So we're probably like a rough rookie pick. But we think we're gonna reward those bigger, Fortune 500 players for supporting us. Definitely global is what it's all about. But right now, we've got some clear deliverables in the Australian market. We want to cut through profitability. And to do that, we just need to just do a little bit in the Aussie market. It's not a long way for us. Really, our planning in terms of global is all about some of the security steps we're taking at the moment, as well as really beefing up our open banking integration. So the great thing about Australia is we're heavily regulated, and all the regulations that apply here transfer very easily to the European and US markets. But they're really back half of 21 for us, where they become, I'll call them serious and strategic plans.